Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above it all, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself and life will be sweet again, so sweet again. Above it all, beat all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go, let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again.
James True here. It's good to see everybody. Welcome to the show. Hello. Happy Monday. We got a lot to cover. And yeah, there's probably going to be some jokes. I want you guys to send some love out to Lucky and don't get too close. Keep your fingers away from Lucky's mouth. I'm not muted, so we can just get right into the show. If I go to present, let me know if I'm not muted. That would be great to know. We're going to talk about the Flower Wars. The Flower Wars. Yes, the Flower Wars, ladies and gentlemen. The most brutal, evil, historical population ever, according to what we tell each other, is the Aztecs. And I'm here to tell you, my friends, that I don't know if they were necessarily that evil. But James, they ate a lot of people. Yes, they ate a lot of people. But eating someone is not necessarily grounds for, hey man, you're evil or you're cruel, okay? I got a lot to show. I got a lot to prove, right? That's a tall order, right? There's a lot in there, so let's see if I can do it. First of all, Teotihuacan is in the upper right. You don't actually need to know this for the show, but I just want to feel like you're learning something here. Tenochtitlan is down here on the left. Tenochtitlan is where Templo Mayor is. Teotihuacan is where the other pyramid is, but there really wasn't a lot of sacrifice there. Or if there was, we didn't see it, okay? So Teotihuacan up in the west is where the gods come from. But Tenochtitlan is where people eat. And that's a good way. If you're wondering why I'm saying this, it's because I've been telling you guys for a while that, look, there's two different places we talk about here a lot. And I really haven't taken the time to make this slide to kind of help you. And so I hope this slide helps. If you have trouble remembering this, think of Templo Mayor, which we talk about a lot, right? It's got the two houses. One is Democrats and Republicans, and people die for them. And my first cannibal, I ate your fingers in barbecue sauce. Now, Tenochtitlan could mean place of the prickly pear cactus on a stone. Tenochtitlan. This is the story of Moses, by the way. Moses is walking through the desert looking for a new home. He finds one in Tenochtitlan because he had a vision of a snake on top of a cactus. And there you go. So that's Tenochtitlan. Oh my goodness. I left the ability. I got to go get something so I can sneeze. I'll be right back. Just please bear with me 1 second. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to bring my little box of tissues. So Tenochtitlan is the city of Templo Mayor. I show you that slide over and over again, but Teotihuacan is the place where the gods are born. So the Aztec eventually found Teotihuacan, but it was actually much older. Okay, so kind of a sidebar, but hey, some bars are meant to be on the side. The Flower Wars, James. Why are they calling the Flower Wars? And, well, number one, symbolic language. Flowers symbolizes honor and beauty in that time, and the ephemeral nature of life in Aztec poetry and ritual. 2, ritual combat. These wars were staged not for conquest, but to capture enemies for sacrifice. You don't kill your enemies in battle. They're not even enemies. They're opponents, and this is for ritual combat. Number 3, mutual agreement, often prearranged between rival cities like, Tlaxcala and the Aztec Empire, kind of sacred contest between these villagers. Number 4, sacred purpose. Captives were considered precious flowers to be offered to the gods, especially the sun god, Huitzilopochtli. Huitzilopochtli are the Republicans, if you remember. These are the hummingbirds. And so you could see quite well why the idea of sacrificing flowers to the hummingbird would be kind of cool, be kind of fun. Hey, what are you doing later? I want to sacrifice a flower to the god of hummingbirds. So and if you want to know what that looks like in real world, just look at the Republicans right now. Just look at the Republicans right now. And finally, cultural framing. Framing war as a flower made sacrificial field noble, sacred, and beautiful. This aligned with their cosmology. So knowing that Operation Desert Storm sounds a whole lot better than Operation, we're going to burn all the fucking oil fields we can and shoot camels in the head and really just find some dude hiding out in a foxhole and telling everybody to fuck off. So what do you want to call the battle? Do you want to call it Operation Desert Storm? Or do you want to call it all that other stuff, right? So Flower Wars, same thing. Marketing people, you gotta do some marketing, okay? Especially if you're going to eat people. You're going to want to do a lot of marketing. You're going to want to do a lot of that. Welcome to Show All. I'm Mel. Good to see you. Nate, good to see you. Stretch. You know what I'm talking about. XKB. Lucky is still hanging on. We'll see if he makes it. If we're missing anyone, if anyone appears missing in the chat, Edub, great to see you too. Ginger, guys, if someone's missing, it's probably Lucky. Lucky's probably eaten one of you. So just something to keep in mind. But we don't have time for games. I got a lot of slides to cover. I really want you guys to see this. You've seen this slide before. James, we've seen this slide before. Yes. Which one of these said we must sacrifice with all our hearts? Even if others do not know us, we must fight to save the world. Which one? Who said this? Was it modern day Eagle Warrior Marines or was it ancient Eagle Warrior Marines? And the trick question, both of them said it, although really this quote is from Aztec. But come on, they both said it. They both said it. They did. Number 3, quick point. When a man died, he was henceforth as dressed as God oh God, I just messed that up. God Kukuksin. When a woman died, she was henceforth addressed as Goddess Jamoltsin. For Teoti, to die, is literally to become God. Do you hear that? Teotihuacan? This is why I showed you the slide, Nate. This is why. Nate's like, I know, James. That's why you showed the slide. I saw that before everyone else did, but I need you to see it first, Nate, because that's how node contagion works. Nate gets it. Everyone else around him gets it, because Nate's kind of freaking lit, y'all. I hate to say it, but he is. He's like, so I like to hide. Don't tell me I'm lit, but he's fucking lit. So this is what I mean. Teotihuacan, place where gods are born. And when you die, you become for Teoti, to die, literally to become God. See how that works? You become God. Right now, Lucky's like, shit, I'm writing this down. He's like passing around the chat. Hey, does anybody here want to become a god? Good, nice try, Lucky. Nice try. Here's the biggie, guys. This cow on the left, his name is Reggie. And Reggie has a torque force of 200 pounds of 2,000 pounds, of pound force. That's how much force he can bear down upon something, say a fence. All right. So let's keep this in mind, because I'm trying to suggest to you that the Aztec mind, the consciousness of the Aztec was a beast of burden. It was a mental state much like a cow. And the best way to understand this is, let's just take a quick trip down Cow Alley and see what they got. If you're a freaking bull named Reggie, you got horns, you got literally the biggest dick on the farm. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that you have all the testosterone that you need. It's all there. It's raging through you, okay? And or estrogen. I'm not trying to say that it's just the guy cows. Hey, don't get me wrong. But the point is that you have over 2,000 pounds of just freaking muscle force. And in that 2,000 pounds of muscle force, guess what? A wooden fence? It's a breaking force of 1,200 to 2,500 pounds. A woven wire fence, breaking force of 800 to 1,500 pounds. An electric fence, 200 to 300 pounds. What does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? It tells you that any average cow can break through any fence. All it has to do is try. That's all it has to do. Well, James, they don't need to try. It's not like they're under threat, right? It's not like people are going to eat them. It's not that way. So the average Aztec mindset is very similar to the cow. And as we're referencing how evil Matt Walsh wrote a blog today, kind of got pissed at him. I'm kind of rude sometimes, I'm sorry, but was all like, oh, look how evil the Aztecs were. So we're very nice by comparison. And I need you to see, because that guy ain't going to watch my show. I need you guys to see that, no, that's not true at all. If you were to really understand what the Aztec looked like, it looked like Reggie. This is Reggie. He's like, hey, I'm an Aztec. I'm a cowpoker Aztec, living in America, steering my way around, still afraid of fences after all these years, 'cause I'm trying to grow self-worth, says Reggie. I'm trying to grow self-worth. I don't have a frontal lobe to grow an ego. And here we are living in this world where we hate the ego. Why? Because we just came online, bitches. We just came online. That's why. So this is why this thing's, oh, by Camel Mind. That is funny. I need to stop looking at the chat. That's hilarious. So this is not Reggie. A lot of you guys are racist and you think all cows look the same. This is actually Regina. I don't want you to ask about the gender. Don't worry about it, okay? But Regina here has a 2,000 pound force. And the number one most popular form of cow fencing in America is actually none of the three things I told you. It's actually just simple barbed wire. And the breaking force of barbed wire is 900 to 1,300 pounds. So again, whether you be Regina or whether you be Reggie, you're going to be able to pretty easily power yourself through a fence. And that's just one of you. What happens if more of you did it? What happens? Well, we don't know, James, because we've never seen a cow riot. And you're right. There's only a few times where you've seen a cow riot. And in order for you to see a proper cow riot, there's going to have something so terrifying inside that village of cows. By the way, a collection of cows is called a moo. Hey, did you know sometimes I tell a lie during the show? And it could be this statement. So yeah, a collection of herd of cows is called a moo. Some of you might want to object to that, but I think if enough of us believe that, we could start this, baby. We could start this. And we've been going around. In 100 years, we'll look back at our ancestors, and the only accomplishment we'll have is that we changed Webster's dictionary to say a group of cows is called a moo. Group of cows is called a moo. So this is, oh my gosh. Oh, come on, James. This is Cihuateotl. Cihuateotl. If this reminds you of anything, this should look exactly like the Indiana Jones sculpture. This is Lilith. This is Lilith, a deity whose cult was one of the most macabre and horrifying ever recorded in the history of religion, says modern scholars. This deity was appropriated with the sacrifice of numerous war captives and slaves dispatched by the usual heart extraction method. The lifeless bodies of the victims were then flayed. Their human skins, including the faces, were worn by ritual participants for periods of up to 20 days. They were worn in an exercise of penitence. Did you hear that? Penitence. Penitence. So the very, very early stages of Aztec culture had something called penitence. This is a huge deal. You've probably heard me talk a lot about biblical history and consciousness and how most of the saints are basically penitent self-torturers, people that got off on torturing themselves in the name of penitence. And you're looking at the same thing here. So the wearing of someone's skin, a victim, is actually the closest thing they could psychologically come to inventing something called empathy. That empathy itself was a war ritual before it was a psychological phenomenon. And this should be really telling because it's showing you the birth of consciousness. And you could broadcast what happened then into today's world to see how the things that we're freaking out about now, I'll just say one, maybe we're not freaking about it, but something we talk about is maybe the ego, and that we have the same kind of bastardization of that. That whenever we get a new sort of mental power, we have to go through this weird phase where we have to rip someone's face off and put ourselves behind it in order to finally see what the rock is cooking. So this figure was actually birthed from the fact that so many babies were dying, and this is a postpartum sacrificial figure, and the only reason why it could exist in the psyche is because babies were dying, but the new psyche didn't really know what that meant. And if you go back to Reggie or Regina, you can kind of picture what a cow's trying to do when it's mourning. A cow. I'm not saying a cow isn't sad, because cows definitely have emotions, but they're on such a different fractal than we are that we may not necessarily understand when they're exercising emotions versus when they're not. Excuse me, I just coughed for the first time. And that this phenomenon is showing you the ladder of consciousness as it rises up onto the stage. But it's weird that Matt Walsh says how evil these people are compared to now. It's weird to me. To me, it seems backwards that we would suggest that they were more cruel back then than we are now, and that you're looking at two modern eagle soldiers, or AI's a rendition of that. But that we celebrate, it's weird we call Aztec savages when they celebrated who would be dying, versus us, where we just leave the dead bodies on the battlefield and go home. We shoot. They fall. We approach the body. We'll take a few, if they got cigarettes, we'll take those. We might shoot them again, make sure they're dead, but we're done. We've honored them. This is what we would call our flower wars now, but it wasn't what we called the flower wars before. And quite frankly, the idea of having this much psychic violence is too caloric for the budding mind, that if you wanted to convert a cow into a serial killer, it's going to require a lot of emotional upgrade. Quite frankly, upgrade because your signal needs to be louder. We've talked about orca consciousness before on this show, that orcas appear more violent, but they appear more violent to us, but they're also seeing 12 octaves where we're seeing maybe 3, maybe 5. So maybe what we see as violent isn't violent at all. It's just we're having a problem scoping. The same kind of problem we would have looking at the Aztecs would be quadrupled 20-cupled, dodecadupled. There we go. Nice save, James. Dodecadupled, because as Aztec, you'd be trying to do the same thing looking at the Cortez, for example, or the modern soldier now, right? So all the stories of Wetiko really were a tiny consciousness, a tiny frontal lobe being confronted by a larger frontal lobe. And then when the two of those clash, the tiny lobe develops what we call smallpox. They develop this system where they don't understand how fucking insane. They're watching us run around with people wearing them as hats, but it's in a much more profound way. It's much more devious, it's much more cruel, it's much more caloric, and quite frankly, the Aztec were outgunned by the octave of our own psychopathy. Today's USA movie, The Octave of Psychopathy. It was early morning. I walked out upon the river. I found my victim and approached her willingly and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, would you like to drink some coffee with buttermilk inside?" And she said, "No, of course not." And I said, "Therefore, I will give you regular coffee, but it will have fat-free half and half, and you will be mine. You will be mine. I will fool you. I will fool you all." 13.69 people die every day stepping on a landmine right now. Right now. Estimations suggest there are over 110 million active mines buried across more than 60 countries. With the exception of Egypt as being number one, it's clearly obvious that America does this the most. So which culture was more cruel? Because even now we are blowing up children and no one cares. James, I care. I'm talking about us in the military. The military-industrial complex doesn't care. If we truly wanted to save the world, if we truly wanted to end terrorism, we would send our own guys in and have them clean up the landmines. And when they turn around to us and say, "Hey, man, I'm not doing that," we'd be like, "Well, why'd you fucking enlist, motherfucker? You had no problem going over there burning oil fields, so why don't you take this rubber shovel and very carefully dig up those mines? Why don't we do that? Let's get started. After that's done, then we can go kill people again." I just think it'd be really, really cool if we could do that first, because 13.69 people could not be wrong. That is a lot of people every day. Every day, guys. This war has been 60 years old. They're still there. It's not about we haven't gotten around to it. You know this. "James, stop lecturing." Fine, I will stop lecturing you. Let landmines be landmines, right? So this is another map of Templo Mayor. You can see the Blue House, the Democrats on the left, Thalac, the Huitzilopochtli, the temple on the right. That's the hummingbird we were just talking about. But what I want you to understand is that the Eagle House is right there. You've got the Skullback Mountain. You've got the Merchant Walk. You've got the Orange Julius, believe it or not. They had Orange Julius back then. And they had the Sacred Ball Court. We've talked a lot about Sacred Ball Court. This is the oldest Popol Vuh, although that's Mayan, but the twins that go into the underworld to make us who we are, divine sacred twins. Again, it's right there. But the point is that this is an education center. This is a college. This village was the college. It was the center of the city. This is not something that was done to be cruel. This is something that was done to be celebrated. Weird, right? It was done to be celebrated. And because of that being done to be celebrated, it was built into society. It wasn't hidden. I would argue that it's more cruel because we hide war. We pretend that it's not what it is. These guys are like, you're going to look at war right now. You're going to do it right in front of us. The land the Aztecs worked was poor, though. A lot of us like to think the jungle is like super healthy and that it would have all the abundance you need, but it doesn't quite. It doesn't really have the abundance that a protein-hungry frontal lobe human would have. And truly, this was the Aztecs' downfall. They were growing consciousness too much. The land the Aztecs were was poor, its population large, between 8,200 and 1,200. The population of the Valley of Mexico increased from a few tens of thousands to 2 million. I'm going to have a link to the PDF where I got this quote from and a few others in the description. Sorry it's not in there right now, but it will be at the end of the show. I encourage you to check it out. It's pretty academic. It's kind of a dry article. It's at least 60 pages. But if you want to reference some of these things that I've looked at and check it out, I highly encourage it. Someone asked me just the other day, how do you learn about this stuff? And it's like, just curiosity. Just curious. James, why are you curious about cannibalism? I don't want to talk about that. The Aztecs had no cattle. Their diet, largely maize and beans, provided little fat. Often they were forced to eat insect eggs and algae scraped from stagnant ponds. So what do? They invented cannibalism. And how do you invent cannibalism? You have to come up with a reason for the season. So the deer population basically were slaughtered pretty early on. And honestly, the deer population is really what gave us our first psyche, our first consciousness. So I hope you can imagine now why animals are actually here. Yes, I'm talking to you, vegetarians. This is actually why animals are here. Animals are learning a weird lesson called self-worth. They're learning what it's like to not trust too much, to still have autonomy, but also kind of need shit, to learn to be sharper, faster, better, all these things. And that there's an escalator of consciousness, and that escalator of consciousness moves through the animals into the cannibal, from the cannibal into the serf, or to the slave, from the slave to the serf, from the serf to the blue collar, from the blue collar to the white collar, from the white collar to the self-employed, to the corporate president, NGO, beyonder, sacred, ancient, cult guy. I don't know where it goes. I haven't been there. I'm just looking around here at the deer. Excuse me. Vegetarian revenge. Good numbers of Tenochtitlan for how many were actually killed. Maybe 300,000 inhabitants. Postulate 15,000 sacrifice victims every year. 15,000 every year. 15,000 every year comes out to 15000 divided by 365. That's 41 people a day. 41 people a day needed to be sacrificed in order for this place to run. And right now, we still have landmines for 13.69, right? So we're not there it is. 13.69. So we're actually not that far behind, are we? Not really. We're really not that far behind. So you're looking at a rise in protein through deer, and then a loss of protein through the ending of deer, and then an empty hole. What do you do? What do you fill it with? And this is where Lucky comes in. Lucky comes in and goes, I got an idea. You guys want to come to a dinner party? And people are like, we would love to. We're starving. We would love to come to a dinner party. And Lucky's like, yeah, I need you to just bring some barbecue sauce, and I need you to wear these carrots. Just wear these carrots. Some of you, can you please stick this piece of corn up your butt? Don't ask. Look, it's a ritual. I need you to honor my ancestors. Don't ask why I'm asking you to put this apple in your mouth and this maize up your butt, and this garlic in your underarms. It's for the party. It's for the party. Just bring it. Just bring it. Will you just bring it, please? Aztec stuffing, there's your first pun. Aztecs kept prisoners in wooden cages prior to their sacrifice, and at least sometimes fattened them there, according to Diaz. Should be noticed that the prisoners could be fed purely on carbohydrates to build up the fat, since the essential amino acids are not necessary for such production. The confinement to the cages would have also contributed to the rapid accumulation of fat given enough calorie intake. And this is really at the heart of why I showed you this slide. Because if you have at least 41 people a day that are being sacrificed, and you're having to keep people in a wooden cage for months, because if you're going to fatten someone up, it's not going to take days. It's going to take weeks or months maybe. So how do you convince 300,000 sacrificial victims that nothing's going to happen to them when literally every single day 41 of them disappear into the night? So it would be the same question that you would ask about cows. Well, does a cow know what actually happens? Some of you may have anthropomorphized a cow and just insisted, yes, they do all know. And I would say, do they know consciously? Do they have a conscious idea of what's happening? I don't think so. I don't think that their frontal lobe's smart enough for that. And I think if it was, they would just use their 2,000 plus pounds of force and just push the barbed wire fence. Even more so, they would talk to their other cows and go, hey guys, we're moving. We're out of here. This moo is bound for glory, is what they'd say. So they would move through that thing unless they lacked the psychology. And I think that the Aztecs were more of a beast of burden. I hope this makes sense. They were a beast of burden kind of mentality. Let me get back to the thing here. Yeah, so that's the Aztec stuffing. They were stuffing these guys. Get them ready. Cannibal treaties, another pun. Hope you enjoy that one. That we had cannibal treaties, which I've marked the cities that were most known for this. Thacopan, sorry. Mexico Tenochtitlan, which you know. Texcoco, another city. And Tlaxcala and Uxoinzinco, sorry, and Cholula. We've talked about Cholula before. It's actually the world's largest earth pyramid, built in over several generations on top of each other. And that all these different factions that lived there created a cannibal treaty with each other. They all decided, hey, during this calamity of 1450, James, you didn't talk about the calamity of 1450. In 1450, the deer crop fell. When the deer crop fell, you also had a lot of droughts and a lot of flooding and a lot of crop failure all at the same time. So you had all these things failing at the same time, and the only way to fix it is to increase the cannibalism. So they started spraying barbecue sauce in the streets. They told everybody it was for insect repellents. They told everybody, no, this is to keep away the flies. They're like, but it makes flies land on me. And it's like, right, but see, it convinces the flies that they shouldn't be flying around. Then they get fat, then their wings fall off. And people are like, okay, that sounds right. And they just kept smothering themselves in barbecue sauce. Meanwhile, everybody's sticking corn out their butt and garlic in their underarms. And next thing you know, you got a KFC buffet. Ryan's Steakhouse, guys. That dude was named Ryan. We fucking ate him. That's what happened. We're like, hey, Ryan, come over here. We're going to put your name on this steakhouse. It's like, hey, what about my wife, Ruth? It's like, you got her too. Don't worry. It's okay. So really what happened is the Aztecs invented eugenics without knowing it. And we do this too. But they invented eugenics without knowing it. If Aztec cannibalism was a response to growing population pressure, one would expect it to increase in frequency through time, and that's exactly what it did. That just as it became necessary for these things to occur, so too did the eugenics kick in. And we have that now too. We have the exact same thing now too. We just don't discuss it. We just don't discuss it out loud. I mean, I've discussed it out loud, but they usually shut those shows down. You know that. They actually show that. So, yeah. Hey, guys, if you don't want to watch the show, Zenatron's got a book recommendation for you. You can check that out too. Yeah, I don't know well what I'm doing here, but I think I got a pretty good take on it. Think about it like 5 to 10 hitchhikers per year. Think about you have a town with 100 people, just 100. And that out of those 100 people, as long as they could find 5 to 10 hitchhikers per year, they're good. This is Rambo, the story Rambo, basically, right? Except for there are 15 Rambos, 10 to 15 Rambos every year. Do you understand? 10 to 15 every year. They're hitchhikers because they had to be from another place. They couldn't be from this place. It's very important. You could not cannibalize your own village. This is why you have the Flower Wars. It's the same thing in America as well. We have a lot of violent people that want to fight as long as we just like play a flute. I'm sorry, that's literally the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II. It could be over there. Yankee Doodle Dandy, basically to over there. Those songs basically caused all these people that had violent tendencies inside themselves to come forward and say, yeah, let's kill people. The only rule was that you couldn't kill your own. You had to do this somewhere else. And that's really what this is. That's really what this is all about. I'm sorry I said that, Zena. I instantly regret that. I got a little jealous when noticing you're looking away, Zena. I'm like, Zena, am I not salacious enough for you, Zena? See, I'm weird. I'm fucking weird. I have a lot of personal problems. Put in the comments what you think my top personal problem is. I'd love to hear that. I've never ever taken anything that you guys have said personally. Eat local. Waiting for the laughter here. I insert my own laugh track in my mind, just so you know. But yeah, Cortez, who asked Montezuma for an explanation of why he allowed Tlaxcala to maintain its independence. This is another city, right? So Cortez is like, hey, Montezuma, how come you let that village, Tlaxcala, be free? Why are you doing that? And Montezuma turns to Cortez and he goes, well, it's done so that his people can obtain captives for sacrifice. In other words, since the Aztecs did not normally eat persons of their own party, they would have socially and politically disruptive. They viewed it essentially as having a convenient nearby enemy that they could tap from. And now you know why I keep saying countries are not what you think they are. Countries are not what you think they are. We are living inside a eugenics cannibalistic system too. Same thing, except for we don't even respect our own bodies. We pump them full of weird shit, send them over there. When they die in the field, we just walk the fuck away. Well, maybe later we'll drag a body out, maybe, but no one's going to look in the coffin. No one's going to look. All you need is a coffin with a flag. Put it in a hanger, coffin, flag, hanger. Instantly you're patriotic. It doesn't matter what the fuck you did. It doesn't matter who you raped, what you stole. None of that. Coffin, flag, hanger. Boom. Problem solved, right? You were instant hero. That's all it takes. Appalachian Trail mix for the win. Lucky, appreciate it. I can't laugh too loud because I'm afraid you might gut me and eat me as I'm giggling, but that was still a good one. So the Aztecs were unique to the world states in having a cannibalistic empire. They often did not conform to models of imperial colonization. Instead, they relied on this simple idea. And this simple idea is here. It's just more stripped of the intricacies of politeness, if that makes sense. It's stripped of the intricacies of ritual. And so we get to see it in a more raw form. This is why I love studying ancient Rome. You still see the same patterns, but because the ego wasn't nearly as complex, because consciousness wasn't nearly as complex. Some of you guys probably get thrown off when I say ego. So because consciousness wasn't fully, we're able to see the same fractal, right? But we're seeing that fractal in a much simpler time. So it reduces the complex tones into really simple primary tones, if that makes sense. Of course it makes sense, James. That's why we're watching. Hit the thumbs up! Before Lucky eats your thumbs up, you got to hit the thumbs up. You got to do it. So we're eating the rich. Actually, it was the opposite. The rich were eating. It was in the interest of the ruling class and the state to prohibit the eating of human flesh by the commoners, precisely because they were the group most in need of it. Well, James, what are you saying? Yeah. The commoners are desperate for this new kind of protein. They want to subdue their frontal lobe. They want to give it what it wants. And the city knows all you got to do is stop that. Make it a taboo to cannibalize unless you are one of the elites. Did you notice how it's not because you're an untouchable that you're a cannibal. You're a cannibal because you're one of the elites. See? And why would that be? Because they knew deep down that there was something about this cannibalism that made them feel better. It made them more powerful. It made them more elite. So you created a upward mobile ladder of cannibalism. This allowed you to raise up out of, excuse me for coughing in the mic, sorry. It allowed you to raise up out of the normalcy of the blue collar days of the enlisted man and achieve this higher result. In fact, when you raise out of this, you were given the ability not just to eat meat. Actually, it's even more complicated, as you're about to see, because you actually couldn't eat meat. It gave you the ability to decide who in your family got to eat meat. And this is actually more powerful. You don't actually need to eat meat if you have the power for this kinds of things, right? So, James, perhaps we were born into a creepy, sadistic, controlling world. Social leads like this way. The best way to deal with this content is to not take part, stay away from fucked up. Oh, Francis, I don't know where to go with that. But thank you for the super chat. I'm going to keep going on this one, though. So if you're talking about this show, I can't help you. Maybe you're not talking about the show. I don't know. You eat my back, I eat yours. Boom. Pun number 4. Hope you guys enjoy this one. I guess you have to be a special kind of person to want to eat human flesh in the first place, don't you think? You know, we'll stop for a sec. I don't think so. No, I actually don't. I actually think that when you are pigs will eat pigs. And I don't think it's because pigs are evil or they have like a satanic ritual that they have to honor. They're not doing that to service some sacred god or whatever. Pigs eat pigs because they actually don't have enough of an id. They actually don't have enough of an ego is what I'm arguing. Because you're living in that cow-like state, Think about the word sheep. We've discussed this before. A single sheep is a sheep. A plural of sheep is a sheep. That's no accident. The psychology of a sheep is the psychology of a sheep. See what I did there? The psychology of one sheep is the psychology of four sheep. The hive, the herd itself, becomes the conglomerate, the organism. This is why herds are able to tap into each other, by the way. This is why the herd has a perimeter. The ones that are typically stronger will be on the outer edges of the perimeter. The ones that are weaker are going to the inside, and they're jacking into each other's consciousness to understand what's going on. So it would be quite appropriate, I think, for the lack of self to be much more prevalent then. This is why a lot of us shit on the ego, quite frankly. We're shitting on the ego in a desperate attempt to crawl our way back into that kind of state so we can just eat each other. In fact, I would say that we energetically eat each other more now than we ever have before, and primarily because we're so insistent that the ego is bad and that we can't trust ourselves, and that we have to call things satanic and run away from them because we lack the luster needed to face these things. But more importantly, we lack the luster to hold our super ego. You've got your brainstem, which is your id. You don't have to call it the id, but it just happens to be that Freud named these three parts and they kind of fit. But your brainstem is the id. The back of your brain, your hindbrain, that's your ego. The super ego is your frontal lobe. That's your Prometheus. So you're looking at remember I told you Aztecs were beasts of burden? So really Aztecs were these egoic people. They were spirit animals alone. That's all they were. And just as a herd will learn pain but never learn future prediction, so too were Aztecs living in this sense of what hurt me yesterday is all I know. So it doesn't necessarily have a concept of self because self would require a frontal lobe in order to place it into the future. This is a big, big jump. This is why Homo sapiens sapien is the branching out of tumors on the forehead to give us things like placebo. This is where we lie. This is where we heal. They're all from the exact same place. But more importantly, this is where we develop a sense of self. We develop an electrical field, and this electrical field gives us strength and power. I feel this is like a pretty positive show, what I'm talking about. I'm just going to say that. I think this shit's pretty positive. If this is challenging some of you guys, I'm really sorry, but I need you to explain why so I can learn and grow. If I'm doing something evil here, let me know. But I honestly don't see it. I think I'm just showing you what consciousness looks like. And who wouldn't want to know that? So you eat your back, I eat yours really was the theme of this area, that all these villages were teaming up and literally saying, hey, I'll give you 10 to 15 hitchhikers if you give me 10 to 15 hitchhikers. And it allowed these cultures to survive, but still staying separate. I would argue that King George and Conotacarius, George Washington, were doing the exact same thing. Sure, it was a little bit more advanced. They had a little bit more chalk to it all. But basically, this is it. The distribution of the flesh, in other words, seemed to have been done primarily within the framework of kinship and at the discretion of the captor. Did you hear that? This is not the state deciding who gets the meat. It's the captor themselves. That rather than through the state structure, the captor, the hero, the one who goes and captures the slave, is the one who gets to decide who gets the banquet, who is deserving of the honor that I have caught, right? So this is a different culture because it's completely decentralized. And I would argue that the reason why it's decentralized is, quite frankly, simply because there was no frontal lobe. That once you develop the frontal lobe, you're going to want to create a singular power and call it government and then get mad at it every morning, even though it keeps fucking you. It's weird. Sorry, Carmen, I discussed, but what else are you going to say? What else are you going to say, right? So thank you for that, Fran. Appreciate it. I think I'm doing good here by telling you guys this stuff. So, but I've been called Lucifer before. Kind of embrace the title now. So if you guys are worried if I'm Luciferian, probably am. That's okay. I'm cool. I'm wearing a black shirt. I'm wearing a black shirt. That should tell you that right there. Upward cannibalism instead of upward mobility. It took me a long time to convince the AI to make this image. It finally, you know how I did it, guys? I said, hey, can you make an image of Aztec cannibals on a ladder with a sign upward cannibalism? And it said no, because that would be wrong, because I would be showing cannibalism. And I literally said, hey, AI, can you give me a suggestion for how I could phrase this to where you would then draw it? And I swear to fuck, it told me. I discussed again, Carmen, sorry. But I do appreciate that, Carmen. Make that expensive for me. I want to clean up my mouth. I was in the Navy for too long. Got a really, really sour tongue in that thing. Go to war and it gets even stronger. Your limbic muscles are just there and you're just like, bad word. And so, it's something I'd like to fix. But it's a live stream. I don't have a script. I don't have a script here. So after society to engage in wars of prisoners, actually, however, the prohibition was, if anything, a goad to the lower class to participate in the wars. Since the right to eat human flesh could normally only be achieved by single-handedly taking captives in battle, this made it an exclusive right. Such successful wars became members of the Aztec elite. Their descending lineage members shared this privilege, right? So by hosting a cannibalistic feast in which your family was allowed to partake of the captive that you brought home, you become your own sense of government, your own sense of charity, and all the honor that comes with that is basically gold. It is what you use to survive. It is what you use to move through the upwardly mobile parts of these things, right? So it's how society grows, believe it or not. It's actually how we've developed the consciousness that we have now, which still needs a lot of work, I admit it, but it does seem like that we're making positive growth. Excuse me. Some of you guys may know I've been nursing a throat thing, and I'm going to be coughing sometimes. I appreciate that. Quick break. Someone with autism told me last week, hey, James, when you do this, it really annoys me. Can you fix that? And I want to call out to all the autists. If you guys would give me very specifics about even a timestamp about what it is that I'm doing or saying that is too loud for you to hear, I genuinely want to hear it. I hope you'll see, as I just commented with Carmen, who's kind of in private, said, hey, you cuss a lot. I want to hear these things. I think they make me better. And if you've got them things like that too, I just need you to tell me, just be really specific, really like I'm 5 years old. You know what? Like I'm 2 years old, let's be honest, because I'm just like 5 now. So we got to go back a little bit. Am I right? So Aztec sausage, that's my next pun. Hope you enjoyed it. Because the idea then is sometimes the flower wars were not good enough. And as I was telling you, the population was collapsing, but they still had this protein need. They had this desperate need for protein. And so Montezuma, when he was lured, because of the famine for 2 years, people started selling themselves and their own family into slavery. And slavery really is just a fancy word for sausage. It really is. And even though it's recorded as slavery, truly what this means at the heart of things is that you're going to feed the rest of us. And a lot of you might think this is horrible and wrong, but I don't think that you understand just how consciousness grows. That, as I told you before, the ladder from cannibal to actually I had a nice rhyme earlier. I wish I could go back and say it again, but it began with this idea of cannibal to serf to slave to free man. That's a funny term. Free man to employed, employed to master or patriarch, right? And that ladder is going to have the same kind of effects, but psychologically. And so the cannibalism really would take a long time for it to become conscious. I would argue that once it becomes conscious, then it instantly taboo. But it's not really, or it's instantly felt as taboo to many, but not all. In fact, some of us would not us. Sorry, you're going to think I'm talking about me. I've never eaten anybody that I'm aware of, just so you know. But some of us would really get off on that and call ourselves Hannibal, and we'd have movies about it. And oh, wait, we do have movies. See what I mean? So we're still struggling with this. But the point is that back then, I don't think the struggle was real because, again, there wasn't a super ego to even feel I am eating myself. There really is no concept of self. Guys, this is not a a stretch. It's not me reaching for something that's not there. If you look at early cave art, we've discussed this, that there's certain things that aren't drawn for a long, long time. One of those is landscape. The other of those is the human. That the first thing the human sees, you know what? They see echo. They see deer. And what is the deer doing? The deer is leading them the way to grow consciousness. And all you got to do is catch me and put my skin in your mouth. This was at our most basic directions. Like the only directions we had when we were here is a desire to see these things, chase them down, and find a way to use their resources. One of the many resources that you would get from the deer is that you would eat that food. And when you eat that food, you're, I think, quite frankly, blowing up constellations in your mind that you've never thought possible. All the salt in that blood, all the salt in the flesh itself would truly be a starburst flavor explosion. And that flavor explosion is creating limbic pathways that have never existed before. And once you lay the groundwork, the road work for that, you're not going to be able to go back very easy. It's going to feel like an atrophy. That atrophy is going to make you create really weird things like flower wars. And so it ends up becoming the vehicle itself for growth, which is why I'm still confused right now if this is considered a bad topic, because ultimately nature's been giving you this path as the only way out. It would really be the only way to rise up out of the zodiac to become man. The zodiac being the relation of just beast, the wheel of beast, the beast of burden. The only way out of the beast of burden would be through cannibalism, which is actually the development of Wetiko, that Wetiko refining itself into present day sociopathy. I mean that in a polite way. And that sociopathy right now is just the Blarney Stone that eventually may become something more substantial. I don't know if the Blarney Stones should even fit there. I don't even know why I said that word, honestly. Sometimes I say words and I just hope someone will make sense. Commoners never ate it, though, as we talked about. This was for illustrious and noble people. And it would make sense because the commoners do not have the same kind of conscious appetite. It might even be seen as wrong. It might even be seen as this is too much for me to handle. So the right to eat human flesh may possibly have been really a privilege to eat at one's own volition. To host a banquet, to buy a slave in the marketplace for that purpose was an initiation into a higher realm. That you'd be stepping into the higher world simply by doing this, right? Self-cannibalism, very true, Zeno. We could go all into that, and we probably won't today because I really want to get to these slides. But oh, good. Actually, I think we might be able to get into that. Oh, good. Oh, it's 6:52 too. Wow. Okay, so I did have the right thing. Here's what I want you to think about. The closest example of this I can give you is 9/11. There is truth in every bandwidth. And what I mean by that is if you're a cow and they pull 9/11 and you're watching the towers fall, the cow's going to have a conscious understanding of what just happened. And that conscious understanding is going to be even below the idea that a plane struck a tower. They don't know what a plane is. They don't know what a tower is. They don't even know that something's wrong. Do you understand? As a beast of burden, you wouldn't necessarily know something's wrong. You're just looking at smoke. You don't even know if it's smoke. You're just looking at shapes. And some shapes have smell, some shapes don't. Some shapes are warm, some shapes are not. You're licking things that are big white blocks in the field, and some taste sweet, some taste salty. And this is basically your entire universe. And that would be maybe a 0.6 hertz. But if you eat enough animals, if you develop enough of a frontal lobe, you end up in the 6 hertz zone. Where you've grown enough consciousness that you start to conjugally place names on things. Why? Because the constellations in your mind have enough juice to be remembered so that the next time you see something that fires the same constellation, you recognize it, and the recognize it is the birth of the superego, because to cognize is a pretty cool trick. But to recognize is quite frankly a miracle. And the only way you're going to be able to recognize that is with a shitload of calories. We're talking 2,400 calories every day. That's a lot of hitchhikers. It's a lot. So even at the base root, what we would call sheep, what we would call the NPC, that they are at 6 hertz and they're watching 9/11, and what they see is that a plane struck the tower. You understand? A plane struck the tower. But at 11 hertz, if you could like double your caloric intake, if your frontal lobe got enough hunger and you saved enough calories through seeing through the bullshit, you're able to save calories all the time. You're able to see the exact same event, but see it as a controlled demolition. That a plane could strike the tower and it would be a controlled demolition at the same time, believe it or not. These two things do not actually have to disagree with each other, my friends. They really don't. So, but that's 11 hertz, and that's pretty hard. You know that. It's very hard for people to see what actually happened. Most people are going to be more in the 6 hertz zone. A few of us are at the 11 hertz zone. Some of us have gotten 11 hertz and said, I want more. And the only reason why you want more is because you've sacrificed enough hearts in the past. You've eaten enough calories where you've developed enough of a roadmap that you need more consciousness to grow. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Let me just take a sip of water. Hope you're doing well. Good time to hit like, subscribe. Even better time to join Patreon. We got an airship tonight. If you want to join us, it's going to start in 5 minutes. So I better hurry up and do this. But if you want to join Patreon, you can join us in there. We'll be talking about more of this. Will the conscience have a conscience? Yeah, excellent question, XKB. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. To be sentient would be to start to develop the conscience. I'm saying conscience so that people can hear the difference between conscious and conscience, even though they both sound the word conscious. But what's above 11 hertz? 19 hertz, baby. Building 7. Most of you guys don't see this. Most of you guys get mad at me when I tell you about Building 7 being a good thing. You're just like, it's not a good thing. And it's like, I know it's not a good thing to you because you see 11 hertz. But when I look at the Masonic chart, I see that there's a coffin between two towers, and that coffin is actually the sacrifice. You're actually sacrificing something. So if you had a ritual that was going to fool the world, if you're going to demolish towers and use it to enslave a bunch of people that quite frankly were dying to be slaves anyway, and if they were dying to be slaves in the name of terrorism, then you've just created a flower war where you're fighting, but you're not really fighting, that everyone knows that it's not true, but we're fighting anyway because deep down we just want the calories. We just want to participate in the war itself. And only some of us are going to see that, and that's going to require 19 hertz. That 19 hertz, the first two things are true, but Building 7 is a sacrifice for you. That the sacrifice was the secrecy of the operation. And that by seeing Building 7 fall, that was the Masons sacrificing the secrecy that they had to allow you to see through. Why are they doing this? Because they understand the hermetic ladder of consciousness. Are they doing this because they're just really nice people? Probably not. They're doing this because they're bored. It's a garden. They're here. They're alive. They don't believe in money like you do. They already have all the Beyonder things that a Beyonder needs. What else is there a Beyonder to do but to walk around tripping out over how much fun it is to wake people up? That would be one of many hobbies. I'm not saying it's the only one, but that would certainly be a big one. This isn't James True's idea. It's literally called The Great Work. You can read Robert Anton Wilson. You can read a bunch of writers that already know about this concept. Why? Because it's self-evident. And if you don't have a self, you're not going to be able to evident that self, which is why some of us are not at 19 hertz yet. And then when you can really see that 19 hertz, I think, quite frankly, it's easy to get to 33 hertz because you're looking at people that are telling you, how dare you talk about this? This is evil. This is awful. And you're like, but I want you to wake up. See, I trust that you need vitriol to wake up. That's what the Mason says. I trust that if I punish you enough for keep falling for the same fucking tricks over and over again, Carmen, I'm allowed to cuss on this one, but that if you're going to keep falling for the same bleeping tricks over and over and over again, I'm going to increase the vitriol until discernment improves. And this is the concept of the great work, that we can achieve the Iroquois Confederacy. We can have an idea where everyone agrees because everyone gets to veto, and that the Iroquois Confederacy and the one world government are literally the same fucking thing. I didn't have to cuss on that one, but literally the same thing. And that in order to get there, we just simply need people to wake up. And the only way to wake people up is to keep slapping them silly when they keep doing the same thing over and over again. So to me, this is a positive method of upward mobility that just requires more sweat. Do we need the world to change? I'm going to say I'm one of them now. No. But does it give us fulfillment to pollinate those? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It really does give me fulfillment to know that I might be waking some people up. Am I directly waking them up? No. But if I can insert enough creative vitriol to where Building 7 is right there, right in front of them, they're really going to have a hard time running away from that. And more importantly, when they come out of the cave and they see a coffin with a sign and there's like a little donut, they're going to be like, oh my God, someone left this for me. How sweet. This is kind of weird, but man, I sure feel better. And the second they feel better, they now have more calories. And the second they have more calories, they have more dopamine. And the second they have more dopamine, they can see they can see things. This is how it works. The Public Acts of the State of Tennessee passed in March 3rd, 1858. This is an act providing for the voluntary enslavement of free persons of color in this state for any free person of color, resident within the state of the age of 18 years to choose his or her master and convey him or herself into slavery upon the terms and conditions hereinafter mentioned. This law was passed in the state of Tennessee in 1858 because people were not able to take care of themselves. Indentured servitude was the same way. You're entering into 7-year contracts where literally the only thing you are promised is food, clothing, shelter, and when you finish, you're going to have a job and you're going to have some tools. And that you sign up for all those things very much like this slavery, except for the slave, as I told you, the difference between slave and serf is the difference between slave and indentured servant. One has a little bit more consciousness. One's at 12 hertz instead of 9 hertz, right? So our idea that we have to stop slavery is really our desperate attempt to end human growth. It's one of the most selfish acts I can see, and it's because we're so ashamed of where we came from that we want to make sure no one can fucking follow us. Excuse me for cussing again. It's disgusting that we cannot see this. And I know that if we could relax more, if we could stop freaking out all the time, that the calories would come in, we'd take a deep breath, and we would just see the room for the very first time. And I've seen this room. There are people in chat that have seen this room. There are people that support me on Patreon precisely because I saw the room too. It's the only reason why I have a show. Of course I'm supposed to talk about this. I don't even know why I was doubting myself. Section 2, be it enacted by the authority that when any free person of color desires to go into slavery, such person shall file a petition in the circuit or chancery court of the county in which such free person of color resides. This is completely back-ass words of anything you've ever heard. And it's right here. It's right here in law. You can Google this. You can go to Nashville and download it. You can look at it. That people wanted slavery because slavery was an upwardly mobile event. Just like Rome, over 50% of Rome was slaves. You and I were those people. If we had enough calories, we developed enough ego, we created a patriarchy for ourselves. We became a free man on Rome, which sadly meant you could be taxed out the ass. But if you traveled on the roads at night and you could prove your citizenship, then some thugs would kick the shit out of someone who is not a citizen just because you said so. You literally could point to anyone that was not a citizen, literally anywhere all over the world. And if you could find a Roman soldier, you could say to that Roman soldier, that outlaw looked at me funny, and they go kick his ass for you. I'm not making this up. This is how you create a country, by the way. You create these things. You create indentured servitude, and that's really what an organism is. An organism is a bunch of cells that have indentured themselves into a common cause, and they call that government. We're out of time. We'll go over Malum and Ni. The Knights Who Say Ni, it's directly related to this. Thank you for watching James True. Hope to see you right now on Airship. You can come in there right now. If you don't have the invite link, you just go to Patreon. It's right there. Hope you enjoyed this informative look. I hope that all of you are still here and that Lucky hasn't found any of you. But if not, run for your lives. Run for your lives. Run for your lives. Appreciate you.